I'm Jim Pence with See the Light, and welcome to another segment of The Joy of Art. We've been working on picture elements, and I wanted to show you one more thing, and that's kind of how to create a sense of depth or distance in your picture. I've got my trusty colors. Have you noticed I use a lot of these colors? Again, as a chalk artist, we don't have just a ton of different colors available to us, and so we do an awful lot with blue, and we use color to create perspective and create depth in a painting. For example, if I want to do just a nice landscape, often I'm going to put some mountains off in the distance. And those mountains I'm not going to make very dramatic. I'm going to keep them fairly simple. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want them to dominate the picture. So I'm going to crank these out fairly quickly if I'm doing a chalk drawing. Now you'll notice I used a very light blue, come over it with a little bit of white, and that's pretty much it. Next thing I will usually do is I will take some yellow, or this is not yellow, this is yellow-green, and I'll come in and I will just kind of create the suggestion of foliage, off in the distance. Again, you can't see it very well. It's pretty far out there, and then I'm going to start to bring things forward a little bit. So I will use a little darker green. This is actually just standard green. What I used was yellow green. I'm going to come in, and now that darker color is pushing the lighter green back more into the background. So, and about this point is when I will actually insert some detail. Back here in the far distance, I don't. Most of the time it's because if I'm drawing in front of a group, then they're not going to see any detail I put there anyway, so there's really not a lot of point. Here I will suggest some trees, and again, that's mostly just kind of a circular motion. Let me do that in white so you can see it a little bit better. Just kind of a circular motion, but with a little variety added in. So I'm not going to make them really big, because they are in the distance. But I'm going to create a little kind of a broken line there. Makes it a little bit more interesting, and it also gives me the feel of trees off in the distance. And again, I've said this every week, you can create all of these effects with soft pastels. Now, one thing that I will do also when I'm doing a drawing like this is after I've created that, I'm going to come back in with my light yellow, and I'm going to cut an edge in here. Watch. As soon as I cut an edge in, we have now defined those as trees in the back. Before we had just kind of a green mass with bumps on top of it. And sometimes I'll come in and I'll hit some highlights on these trees. Again, if I'm doing a chalk drawing in front of a church, I won't do much, because the further people are away from the picture, the less detail they can perceive. Their eyes just can't resolve the detail that much. So most of the time I'm gonna, I'll hit with a few highlights in there, but that's pretty much it. Often then I'm going to come in with a darker color, often a dark blue, and the reason again is I want to bring the picture forward. This particular stick is kind of hard, which is lots of fun when you're trying to draw a picture quickly in front of people. And you get a hard stick like this, and then it just kind of slows you down in terms. But I'm going to come in here, and sometimes I will, this is dark green, sometimes I will come in and do a tree in dark green. Other times I will go to another darker color. In this case, I'm doing just a deciduous tree. Main thing is, again, kind of like with the clouds, don't make your tree look like that. You know, add a little variety. Even if you see in nature a tree that looks like that, don't do that. Because you're not creating reality here. You are drawing a picture, telling a story. And so you want to rearrange things to make that story more interesting. And often I will come in again and I'm going to come in here, soften this just a little bit. I'll probably come back with my light green. And again, kind of like with the clouds. Remember, if you watch the segment on doing clouds, I'm going to hit some places to just give some highlights. I'm not going to come in strong and just lay a lot of extra yellow in, or yellow-green in. Okay. And if it's close enough, I'm probably going to throw in a little bit of a suggestion of a branch. This is kind of a light brown, branches and trunks. Again, it depends on the auditorium I'm in or the room I'm in as to how much of this I'll do. If it's a big auditorium, I may not do much of any, but I do like to do at least a little for people who may come up and look at the picture afterwards, give them a little bit more detail to work with. Now I'm going to come back in again with my light green, and I'm going to cut another edge in. Okay, but this time I'm not pressing nearly as hard as I did back here. In fact, that's actually too hard back there. Okay. Cut that edge in nicely. Add in a little bit more green. And why don't we add a nice field of flowers just to top it off. So I'm just going to come in with some orange chalk. Add in a field of wildflowers here. Just throw in a little yellow. I'm in Texas and I should be drawing Texas bluebonnets right now, but I've already got too much blue in the picture, so. Alright, so I'm just going to throw in some of those. Maybe a little bit of red. Alright. And just to continue the feel that this is, you know, not a bunch of red paint or something, or yellow paint that somebody left off. I'm just using the edge of my chalk. I'm creating a little bit of a greenery here. Blend that. I don't want to blend it too heavily. Just want to have some fun. And again, this is all just off the top of my head right now. I did not plan what I'm drawing. I'm just having a good time, and so, you know, I'm not really thinking in terms of composition at the moment. I'm playing right now. And I probably wouldn't do that if I was doing a chalk drawing, because generally if I was doing a full-scale drawing, you know, that would be the bottom of my easel right there, and all of this, you know, wouldn't even be there. So let's take that out. Like I said, erasers are great if you're working with chalk, because you can take that and kind of frame it up there a little bit. Okay, and then we need something over here. What if we put in, like from back here, maybe a little stream coming our way, huh? And that stream is going to just come right out here. And we'll lead us into the rest of the picture. I would probably, oops, that's the wrong color. Would probably come in here and finish it off with a big close-up tree. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing a drawing, and this is going to be the side of my easel there. A lot of times when I'm doing a drawing like this and I want a really close tree, then I'm going to use black. And I really don't recommend black for, like, if you're just doing a small scale drawing with soft pastels, because black is way too stark. It kills color. But again, as a chalk artist, we don't have just a whole lot of different colors in our palette, so we have to use what we have, and sadly black sometimes must fill that void. Okay, I'm just throwing out a quick pine tree here. Come back in and highlight again with my lighter yellow-green. And it's kind of a sloppy tree, but well, sometimes they come out that way. And maybe throw in just a hint of a trunk, and there you have it. Frame it off here. I would probably, if I was doing this in front of an audience, I would probably go in and add a little bit more detail in here, maybe a little bit more green. But you know, that's just a simple landscape that you can do. You can have some fun with it, play around, enjoy your chalk and or your pastels, and have a good time. I hope you've learned something during this series on rocks and trees and such, and I'll be back next time with a whole new series in The Joy of Art. I'm Jim Pence for See the Light. I'll see you next time.